would give more authority and power to the JCPS superintendent passed the Kentucky Senate and is now headed to the State House. But Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood and school board members are actively campaigning against it.
And they argue stripping the board of some of those responsibilities could cause a big crisis for the district. Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia-Franceschini shares why these local leaders say they are concerned.
The Kentucky legislature passed Senate Bill 1 in 2022, and in the fall of 2024, the Kentucky Supreme Court upheld the bill. But 2 months ago, the Supreme Court overturned its prior ruling, saying Senate Bill 1 was unconstitutional. Well, now some legislators are pushing for the bill again, saying the state Supreme Court gave them guidance on how to make sure the bill this time follows the Constitution. Senate Bill 1, sponsored by Senator David Givens, details 42 reasons why the bill should only target JCPS, one of them being its almost $2 million budget.
Us as legislators are responsible for the performance happening across the state and in the Jefferson County public school system.
The bill would give the JCPS superintendent the power to handle operations and management and would take that away from the school board. Superintendent Dr. Brian Yearwood strongly opposes the bill.
That's not something that I want, because I'm working with a great board. We're rowing in the same direction.
School board member James Craig is also against the bill, which he points out would allow the superintendent to propose contracts of up to $250,000 without oversight.
Imagine what type of spending authority would follow from that without any type of assurance that students are receiving a return on that investment.
The bill also proposes a supermajority requirement, so a superintendent's proposal would automatically become policy for the district unless 5 out of 7 board members veto the measure.
Now that requirement is undemocratic.
But unlike in 2022, Craig says he feels legislators are willing to compromise this year, which could lead to a bill that both Frankfort and JCPS would be content with. Fernando Garcia-Franceschini, Wave News.